Welcome to the Cozy Convos Podcast. I am your host, Elijah. As you can see, you guys, after a few weeks, we are back with a brand new episode. Welcome to episode 13, honey. Now, you guys, today's topic, it's a very elaborate, complex issue, and there's a lot of moving parts, so I don't want to waste any time. Today, what we will be discussing is how we are going to be conquering ourselves first and not the enemy.
Let's have a conversation and make it cozy. Let's dive into the unknown so we can continue growing. It won't always feel so comfortable letting go of limited beliefs, but we know we have big dreams and goals, so we're committed even when truth gets heavy. Let's have a conversation and make it cozy. Let's address the hard things and still make it feel so cozy. Let's embrace our flaws so we can feel even more cozy. This safe space won't make you feel anything other than cozy.
Being someone who used to surround themselves with a lot of noise and toxicity, I've come to learn that those are not the environments that I ever want to be a part of again. Living on my own and moving away from traumatic environments has been improving my mental health so much, so much, Jesus. And it has helped me gain a level of internal peace and stability that I have never experienced before. Now, it wasn't just the light switch I magically hit and I was all of a sudden this gorgeous, peaceful little angel. I had to go through a lot of battles, a lot of fire, a lot of opposition, a lot of obstacles, honey, to understand how to maintain it in a world that thrives predominantly off of drama and chaos. On today's episode, I really want to focus on solving a problem that many of us have wrestled with, or are wrestling with. You know, we're all on different paces in our journey, honey. When you consume social media, you consume television, you consume all of the things that are created to entertain us. Majority of everything is filled with people seeking altercation, violence, revenge, vengeance, and so much more. And when it's directed towards you, it's hard to not feel compelled to give into that energy yourself. It is so easy to be reactive and emotional, to feel this need to return serve towards the deception that is targeting us in whatever form that may manifest itself as. And I'm speaking on this issue being someone that has been targeted their whole life. Being black and queer in the southern region of America, baby, definitely shaped the way I was treated in school, in religious environments, in the home, honey, in every corner of my life growing up. Being someone who embraced their uniqueness very early on, in a society that was cultivated to condemn that very thing, had me on the receiving end of a lot of people's unresolved trauma. And for most of us that experience that, we know a lot of the times it starts with those family dynamics. On this podcast, I want to be honest with you guys. I want to be upfront about my story. I want to share things so that people who have felt the same way that I felt know that it is okay, that you are not the only one. But majority of my life has felt isolating. I felt surrounded by people who didn't fully understand me. You know how they say you're around a lot of people but you still feel lonely? That's how I always felt without being able to articulate. That was the emotions I was experiencing. I was surrounded by people who used my differences as an excuse to take their pain out on. You know, when somebody doesn't understand something, or when you are showing a characteristic, showing something that a lot of people are hiding or a lot of people haven't found within themselves, it can cause you to become the scapegoat. And going on my spiritual journey, it has awakened me to the root of why I always felt insecure, and it has a lot to do with the environments I was always around. Going on my journey has also led me to understand why I used to feel like my queerness disqualified me from achieving certain things in life. Y'all know on the Cozy Convos podcast by now, honey, we make these episodes to get down to the root of things, honey. We don't stay on the surface, we don't stay on what our physical eyes can see, honey, we get down to the root. Because that's what caused the tree to grow, the plants to grow, the leaves to grow, the stems to grow, whatever you would like to call it, baby. And in this case, the root is the unsolicited opposition a lot of us divine beings face. At some point, I was forced to stop seeing things from a victimized perspective. When you know in your heart that you are a good person who has never gone out of your way to hurt others, you mind your own business, you tend to your own garden, you're focused on building your own life. All the pressure, all the backlash that you may receive for just existing will force you to go into your cocoon and evaluate things, and that's what happened with me. I had no choice but to go within and ask myself why so many people felt compelled to target me, and I'm not doing anything to these people. Why is there so many people that need me to experience some sort of stumbling block in my life or some sort of downfall? And slowly, the more I analyzed and asked myself these questions and paid attention, the more it began to click. The very thing that people target and condemn you for is the very thing they wish they possessed. And I'm not saying this from a place of ego, baby. Please don't think that I am saying this from a place of ego, honey. I say this from a place of me genuinely, constantly witnessing throughout my life. People going out of their way to bring me down while I'm simply existing and living my life. On the surface, at first, to me, it made absolutely no sense. How am I someone who is to themselves? I don't talk to anybody. I don't really have any friends right now. Somebody who is comfortable in their solitude to somebody who is building, creating, minding their business, minding their God-given business. How is it that so many people feel compelled to throw their nasty-ass energy in my direction? When you peel back a couple of layers and start to evaluate the spiritual aspect of these things, that's when the puzzle pieces click into place. The only reason I was ever insecure and codependent is because that benefited the people around me who needed me to stay small, so that I felt inferior to their presence. And this happens to so many people. I feel like majority of society, honestly, where other people can detect something special within us that we aren't fully conscious and aware of yet. So there's all these attempts to plant seeds of doubt and insecurities to keep us low enough, so those that are making the attempts aren't forced to face those demons they keep running from that we are unknowingly triggering. And I want to highlight how serious it can become, baby. This is a war. This is a warfare that we are in, honey. And you have to be aware of it so that you know the proper ways to defend yourself and protect yourself. And that may not look like what we initially thought war was going to look like. I've learned that it isn't enough for those people operating from an unhealed place to just simply wish on your downfall or hope that it happens or hope something bad in your life takes place, you know? The pain that you are forcing them to face, baby, pushes them to limits that many people don't know exist. And in some sick, twisted way, their solution to mending those open wounds becomes focused on getting rid of the reminder that they are even there. Oh my God, girl, come on, come on. That's when we get into the coordinated efforts put into place by that demographic of people. Those negative thoughts that come out of nowhere that don't feel like yours. That drainage that you feel after being around certain people in certain environments or having a conversation with someone. Those stumbling blocks that you experience in life that seem to be never ending. This is what someone who is walking in their purpose and their calling experience. A lot of that energy comes from the people who benefit from that calling never manifesting. And when people think of opposition, when people think of enemies, they normally stay on the surface. They're paying attention to people's actions, how they're presenting themselves, which is very crucial in understanding things. But you have to understand that some people go to even darker lengths. Some people attack your self-esteem, your psychological well-being, your emotional stability. These attacks are often aimed at us before we even know that there is a calling we're supposed to step into and embody. In order for me to understand why in every space I entered I always experienced some form of opposition, whether it was visible on the surface or an undercurrent of people's unspoken intentions, I first had to really awaken to my divine identity, and then further awaken to how deception operates and how it starts and where it comes from, honey. Like I said, baby, the root. I had to learn the root of all of these things that are transpiring on this earth today. And with this being said, the world unfortunately is split right now. And while it is my belief that every soul, every being on this planet carries that divine white light inside, the reality is that that unresolved trauma and pain hollows some people out and they feed into the very thing that hurt them in the first place by becoming it. That undercurrent of deception that has taken control of so many lives, of so many souls, so many beings has manifested itself in so many sick and disturbing ways. And I feel like that's what gets most people and keeps them in that cycle, keeps them in that loop. They feel the overwhelming weight of that energy coming from the people that were supposed to love them, the people that they trusted with all of their heart, all of their soul. And instead of healing and using that pain to create, to build, to alchemize, we devote all of our energy to hurting innocent people that trigger the abuse and pain we still haven't let go of or still haven't worked through, to resolve the version of us operating from a place of fear, operating from a place of lack, a place of brokenness, a place of emptiness. And that's why on this podcast, I'm always expressing the importance of tending to our wounds and working through our emotions. Left unchecked, these wounds create the deception in our spirits that we all claim to despise. And I say claim because, you know, a lot of people, they don't like deception, but they're operating from that place. So it's just like, I don't understand how you can't, honey, I don't understand how you can't just put two and two together. But you know, I'm gonna get up off of it. Long story short, heal so that you don't become like those that hurt you and so that you don't hurt other people who don't deserve it. And because I've committed to my journey of healing and I've taken the time to examine the complex patterns that exist within most people, I now know how to make my reality a lot more peaceful and stress-free. Through all of this self-examination, I've analyzed the drama, the toxicity, the beef, the toxic connections, the toxic relationships that I often see or have experienced in the past, and I finally realized, girl, how to avoid it. It's because I understand that people's problem with me is not really a problem with me individually as a person. It's their need to see someone that is content in their own energy get involved in the toxicity that they thrive off of. For people who thrive off of conflict, off of drama, off of going back and forth, off of arguments, when you were somebody that consciously chooses not to give into that, somehow that triggers people even more. Because I feel like people really want to be peaceful, people really want to get to that place. They just don't know how or haven't taken the time to understand how. So when you are reflecting back to them something that they wish they were embodying, they get emotional, and instead of looking within, they externalize and try to make you the thing that something is wrong with. I don't know, do y'all understand the psychological warfare that I'm trying to explain and break down? Like I said, people love going back and forth, they love a good fight, they love a good argument. They are looking for any and every reason to externalize their unresolved emotions, emotions because they don't know how to cope with them yet in a healthy way. And when you become somebody who does process yours in a healthy way, that triggers people, like I said, who don't understand how to do that yet. So now you become the scapegoat. You are the mirror reflecting back to them that they really need to heal, that the drama, the toxicity, the things in their life that they thrive off of is so unnecessary, it's so not needed, and it's draining them. But instead of being humble and admitting that, honey, pride and ego is too large and it gets in the way. Their solution is to get rid of the reminder, the mirror, like I said, by coming at you. Learning about the foundation of this whole energy is what keeps me very conscious about what I give my time, my energy, and my attention to, because it is so very valuable. It's so important for us to focus on healing, building, and creating, because that is the only way we're going to truly advance in this lifetime. If we don't find a way to tackle our deepest, darkest wounds and emotions, then all of that precious energy we could be using to create the life of our dreams will go towards fighting, drama, and the desperate need to make someone else feel as badly as you do. And where will that get us at the end of the day? Absolutely nowhere. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand the root of stagnation. It's because we're walking around. Well, let me not say we, baby. I'm resolving mine. I'm looking at the pain. I'm doing what I need to do, baby. But a lot of people, I feel like, still don't understand why they are in certain cycles, in certain environments, in certain spaces. And it's because they're not doing the hard work of going within. Operating from an unhealed place is the catalyst for stagnation, honey. There, I said it. Now, there is another layer of this issue that I want to bring to the forefront. I've already touched a little bit on how it isn't enough for people operating from an unhealed place to just wish harm on others or hope that something bad happens to them, but they feel the need to take action, whether it be physically or spiritually. And I feel like most of us, we're aware of the physical. Physical is in your face. Our eyes can see it, our eyes can comprehend it. But I want to dive into the spiritual tactics used to target us divine beings that trigger these cowardly, deceptive energies. There are organized groups of people, we could call them covens, cults, dark spiritual practitioners, people who understand how to prey on people's vulnerabilities and their unresolved trauma, their unresolved wounds. Now, this is a very complex subject, so I need y'all to walk with me. I need y'all to try to, comprehend, because it's very important to understand that a lot of attacks we face can't always be physically detected. Some of the heaviest attacks we face can't be physically detected. These people not only prey on existing wounds to control and extract your energy, but they also attempt to create it within you so that you become another lost soul that spreads the deception they benefit from and thrive off of. And I've done my deep dive, honey. I've had my awakening, honey. I've had my third eye open, if you will, my girls who know. But I've discovered that a lot of these organized groups, these cults, these covens, these dark practitioners, whatever they would like to call themselves, I don't know. These people are oftentimes in positions of power. And when I say positions of power, I'm talking about in politics, in government, in the entertainment industry, in the media. And then if we want to be more local, because I know I was a child experiencing this as well, the positions of power may be the ones that are surrounding you, your family, your guardians, friends, co-workers, people who try to position themselves above you or come together with a shared effort, a shared objective to try to create some sort of suffering in your life in some form of fashion. They have purged every corner of every established hierarchy that exists. Positions of power isn't always these big established systems, but the local ones that are surrounding us as well. A lot of children are targeted because they possess that divine white light that a lot of adults have extinguished within themselves. And so the light that those children possess, it triggers them, and they're so hollow, broken, and empty because of the unresolved pain that child, their light becomes unbearable for them to be in constant contact with. So they start doing things to try to harm that child, to extract their energy, extract their gifts, extract their talent, extract the divinity that they possess, to try to harvest it for themselves or manifest off of their energy. And some of you may not understand what I'm saying right now, honey, but being somebody that experienced this and has always felt like the black sheep, the scapegoat, the outcast in most environments, I began to understand that there were a lot more things put into place. So honey, this is me just pretty much wanting to spread awareness, because a lot of you may feel a certain type of way, a lot of you may feel down, insecure, like you're not worthy, like you're not talented, like you don't have potential, like your life can only amount to this ceiling that doesn't exist. A lot of that is either projection or people intentionally targeting you to keep you from stepping into your purpose and your calling, because they benefit from you never stepping into it. So once we move from local to global, that's when we begin to understand that these groups are not just in our immediate environment. They are within the system that controls and governs majority of humanity. And this is the biggest reason I rarely listen to other artists' music anymore, and I'm very meticulous about what movies and shows I watch, and I don't engage in any form of political, celebrity drama, gossip. Honey, the tabloids, is that what they call it? I've just gotten to a place in my journey where I understand that these are the very weapons used to primarily keep us operating from a place of pain. Going on my spiritual journey, I started to pay attention to the subject matter and the messages being conveyed in these outlets. And awakening, it became so heartbreaking because I felt like everything that I've ever loved, everything that I've ever supported, everything that I've ever given my time, energy, and effort to was a well-constructed, deceptive lie built on an unstable foundation. Things that should be used for healing, spreading love, and positively impacting lives has now become perverted. And it has been that way for centuries now. And these very things that should be contributing to our well-being have conditioned us to stay and live in our pain. And I feel like the world we live in is supposed to be the opposite of what it is now. But because it benefits the individuals that built this corrupt system that we are governed by, there is division that should not exist. We are fighting and turning on each other because of the corruption these lowlifes have created in our society, and then takes the very things that are supposed to keep us connected to ourselves and each other and flips it to do something completely different and sinister. And for example, church. I resonate with the idea of us coming together, of celebrating the universe, celebrating the divine, celebrating God, the creator, whatever you believe in. I believe in singing, I believe in spreading positive messages, but I feel like religion is different from spirituality, and it is more so a system used to keep us in a state of fear, in a state of feeling inferior to the God that lives within us, keeping us reaching for all of these external solutions when we have the solutions to everything that we need the answers to. It's all a mind game, and it starts internally. Every form of oppression and discrimination is man-made. Let me say that again. Let me say it again. Every form of deception and discrimination, corruption, whatever you would like to call it, baby. All of this shit is man-made, baby. This is not inherent. This is not how humans are supposed to be. This is not how spirits and beings that come from the universe are supposed to be and operating from. Ooh, honey, it just makes me a little mad and a little upset, girl, when you really think about it. But like, you have no choice but to get a little, bothered. Because all of this unnecessary BS that we experience and that we go through, all of this trauma, could have been avoided. We could have generational wealth, generational healing, healed family environments. But no, because some people decided that they want to govern, control, and run the human race, because they want to conquer us and play God and act all high and mighty, they intentionally created a system to keep us operating as opposite of who we actually are and what we are supposed to be and do on this earth. So with that being said, this is a potent time for us to not be afraid of our tears, baby. Cry and let it out. Don't run from your pain. Don't fear it. Honey, none of the tears being poured are in vain. Feel your emotions instead of running from them. Let those tears water the plants and the seed that grows within you. Every cry is a release. Every tear is being absorbed by the angelic forces that surround us, if we would just allow them to enter into our spirit and our hearts. Heal so that these sinister people no longer have an opening for the deception to feed on. Heal so that you stop feeding into unnecessary drama that is only benefiting our common enemy. It gets us nowhere and keeps them artificially powerful. And yes, honey, I say artificially because these people that control this whole system that we are in, the only power they have is the power we have been giving to them. But most of us don't understand that. They're only able to maintain control over humanity because these toxic connections and interactions keep us focused on fighting and surviving instead of building and creating. Now, I want to highlight that everybody's journey is different. Not everyone awakens to the depths of evil that exists in this world. But I just wanted to make my observations known because I would have loved for someone to say these things to me when it felt like the whole world was against me at one point, especially when I first came to New York. When I was 19, experiencing a lot of public opposition, honey. A lot of people turning on me. And I know we've all felt that isolation before. And it can be hard, unbearable actually. Unbearable is the right word. It can be unbearable to accept that we've been lied to about literally everything. From the school system, to the religious system, to the entertainment system, honey, and so much more. But I've learned it's important that we question things because what we initially thought was genuine pleasure and entertainment may have someone on the other side of that or an organization on the other side of that, using it as a source to dictate our emotions and keep us functioning at our lowest, having these shows, these movies, these songs influencing us and how we feel, and we start subconsciously, unknowingly acting from that place of what we're being influenced by. Honey, all of these distractions and tactics used to control humanity eventually creates an enemy most of us don't acknowledge or realize is there. When you operate from an unhealed place for so long, you become your own worst enemy. And the mic has dropped. Honey, the enemy isn't the people that are gossiping. The enemy isn't the people throwing shade and speaking on your name. The enemy is the very thing that lives inside of you, that has been neglected for so long and has you feeling emotionally reactive and feeding into something that is overall irrelevant, or should be. It actually is so irrelevant, baby. Conquering the enemy they created within you, whether it be the family, the religious structures, the system that tries to control all of us. Conquering you helps you conquer every obstacle that the enemy tries and fails to throw onto your path, baby. It's very hard, especially when you've been operating from ego, from pride, from neglect for so long. And when I say neglect, neglecting yourself and what you need emotionally. But at some point we have to admit that they are not the problem. I am. And I don't say that to excuse other people's behavior and the things that they do to us, the ways that they break our hearts. I don't excuse the abuse that we endured, as a child. Things we should not have had to go through that. We should not have had to experience it. I'm just saying, as you grow and you get older, there is a decision that has to be made. The decision that I'm not going to become a product of my environment. I am not going to repeat the same things that kept my dysfunctional environment functioning in a low vibrational place. I'm going to do what I need to do to become a better healed version of myself. I need to take control. On your journey, sometimes these people just become triggers of things that you still need to look at and work through. They're just highlighting some of the areas that we need to grow in. Somebody pisses you off, somebody makes you angry. Why does that make me angry, honey? Let me get to the root. Let me not look at the surface, but what emotion are they triggering that I haven't paid attention to yet? Honey, everything is that deep, actually. Asking myself these questions has preserved my energy so that it can go towards building a life that I know I deserve. So ask yourself some questions next time you feel like you're about to stoop low or get into something that you know does not resonate with the life you're trying to build for yourself. And I talk to myself all of the time. I am my therapist. Elijah is Elijah's therapist, baby. I gotta get through to me, honey. I gotta be real with myself. I have to be my own bestie. And of course, my ancestors, my spirit guides, the divine, the creator. But I take time to pause and analyze things before I make a decision. I ask myself, why does someone's words, whom I don't know and deep down don't care about, affect me so much? Why does someone speaking ill of me trigger me so? Why do subliminals and shade and digs get under my skin so much that I always feel the need to return serve? This is the self-love that they don't often broadcast and the aesthetics we often see. And by no means, honey, am I saying, because this is where a lot of people get it, messed up and twisted at. By no means am I saying be a wussy or tolerate any form of disrespect, baby. You stand up for yourself each and every time. If it gets to a point where somebody is physically causing you harm, somebody is physically, they're maybe stopping your bag, they're interfering with your stability, they're actually doing things, honey, you take legal action, you take physical action, honey, you do what you need to do. But honey, all of that drama, that argumentative, back and forth, girl, subliminal, throwing shade and going, girl, all of that. Baby, ask yourself these questions so that you are not feeding into that, because that's the unnecessary stuff. Honey, all of these questions led me down the rabbit hole, the hole in my mind and in my heart, all the way back to the abuse I endured when I was 4. Like I said, honey, yes, it is that deep. When you get to that level of accountability, when you get to that level of healing, and you're going back to the source of all of your pain and all of your trauma, and you're actively working on it consistently, it will confuse all of the people who expect a reaction to their tactics. Because, honey, while they're plotting and planning on how to knock me off balance, honey, I've already patched up the wound, gotten to the source that would have had me in the trap they thought they were setting for moi. As you do the work to conquer the very thing within yourself that the system never counts on you healing and resolving, remember to give yourself kindness and grace within the process, especially if you are one of the few in your family or maybe the only one in your family, your environment, noticing the unhealed patterns, the unseen wounds, and curses that have been buried and passed around. It's been so interesting for me on my journey to see how operating from a healed place confuses so many people. I feel like because a lot of people operate from that unhealed place, they expect everybody to operate from that place, so the unhealed version of me that was always presenting themselves in their pain, girl, broadcasting hookup culture, having interactions with emotionally unavailable men, just girl, putting myself out there, putting my business out there. People always expected me to be operating from that place because that's their story. So I feel like a lot of people fail to comprehend when you actually heal that part of yourselves and you are the person that you've always been meant to be and not the person your environment created or the system, honey. It's all, working together in a cohesive little lineage. It creates cognitive dissonance, and that's when a lot of the attempts to try to bring you back down escalate because they benefited from seeing you in that low vibrational place, but you're no longer giving them what they used to feed on. So now they're even madder. Honey, let me move on. Honey, y'all know we just be thinking and, adding, doing our little algebra, our little 1 + 1s and 2 + 2s, and just kind of, girl, picking our brain. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say this as well for the Black community, honey, because, baby, we are a very strong and powerful group of people who have experienced the most abuse, the most discrimination, and I feel like we need to think more deeply about how segregation and slavery has affected us till this day, till this very present 2026 day. I feel like a lot of that was the root of a lot of the curses we've allowed ourselves to succumb to. I feel like a lot of our generational pain and trauma is due to colonialism. Yes, honey, we're bringing it to light. We're going there. We're absolutely going to go there. Honey, on this podcast, we are addressing what majority of society chooses to ignore. But that ignorance is what I feel is keeping us in this cycle of fear and heartbreak. We want true love, but we're too afraid to trust again. We want abundance, but we're stuck in lack mindset. We want genuine connections, but we're always competing and comparing ourselves to others, all because we keep externalizing our unresolved trauma. I genuinely feel that we have been doing things wrong for so long. Of course, that's purposeful though. But instead of looking within to tackle these things, we're told to chase and achieve things outside of ourselves, like man-made paper. Let me say that again. Man-made something that does not come from source, the divine, the universe. This exchange is man-made, baby. But we're chasing something man-made to bring us spiritual, emotional fulfillment, which is what I feel like we're all trying to achieve. We just don't all know it, you know? Honey, these external accomplishments, these external pleasures, these material possessions, they are fine and dandy, honey. They are beautiful. You know, I love to indulge in them as well, myself, honey. I'm not, downplaying any of it in that way. I'm just saying none of it is going to compensate for our brokenness. We still feel from the abuse we've never addressed, the love we weren't giving, the abandonment we felt even in a household full of people. The things that we are taught to achieve and value are not designed to produce innovators, free thinkers, healers. It's taught to produce slaves who won't question the brainwashing tactics that have been used on us for centuries. Now, to wrap this episode up in a bow, there is a consistent theme that I hope I've been highlighting, but the theme is the enemy in your life is not who you think it is. Like I said, at some point we're going to have to make the decision and ask ourselves, am I going to allow what they did to me? Am I going to allow the pain and the abuse to ruin the happiness and joy that we all deserve? It is our birthright. It is our God-given divine birthright. Are we going to become our own worst enemy by remaining the way that we are? Or are we going to take the initiative to do the grueling yet rewarding work of figuring out why I attract broken relationships? Why things never seem to work out for me? Why I thrive off of conflict and can't seem to sit with myself for more than 5 minutes in silence? Being honest with ourselves is the best gift we can give to ourselves, especially in a culture that thrives off of distraction, thrives off of constant stimulation. Focus on those wounds so that the people who seek to control the outcome of your life have no opening to affect or interfere with your stability and progress. And to take it a step further, honey, I've had to realize on my journey, baby, you really do have to take those necessary precautions to protect yourself from the negative energy that people are sending, whether it be through gossip, watching you with envy. Honey, these things can carry energy that you may absorb if you aren't remaining intentional about cleansing your space, grounding yourself, finding ways to stay connected to your higher self, the version of you that is pure and operating from a place of divinity. It's important to find ways to come back to your true nature and your true self, the version of you that knows you are the opposite of what these low vibrational energies hope you'll become to soothe their ego. If you are not protecting yourself and reminding yourself daily of who you actually are and what you are actually capable of, then it becomes very easy to feed into their thoughts and their fears that are not yours. Honey, rituals, prayer, and peace is very vital in this economy. There are so many things that this deceptive system is actively pushing upon us to keep us out of this high vibrational state of being. So make sure you're focusing on yourself. Make sure you're tending to your own garden. Most of all, make sure you are protecting your energy, honey. I like to use my little incense, honey, do my little chants, my little mantras, of course, my prayers. But staying committed to that healing keeps us steady on the path God has prepared for us that no man, not a single man, a single vessel on this earth can alter. Ashe. Well, that is going to wrap up episode 13 of the Cozy Convos podcast. Girl, I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all sat back, relaxed, and got some info, got some inspiration. I hope you resonated with some of the things that I said today. Of course, comment down below your thoughts, how you're feeling. Did this episode trigger anything? Did it remind you of anything? Anything that you would like to share, really, I would love to hear from my girlies. But thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my other channel. New music on the way, darlings. Stay cute, stay fresh, stay fly, stay in your divine identity. And I will see you in the next episode of the Cozy Convos podcast. Kisses, hugs, and many blessings. Mwah.